Hello and welcome to InSight. I'm Wendy Brokaw.
And I'm guest host Ross Sutherland.
Our guests today are with the Willamette Heritage Center. Now, most of us remember that it used to be called Mission Mill, and now it's the Willamette Heritage Center with a lot of exciting things going on there. We have with us Bob Reinhardt, Executive Director, and Amy Vandergrift, Development Director. Thank you for joining us.
Glad to be here.
Ross, you have a history with the whole center there, don't you?
I do. I was the Executive Director of the Marion County Historical Society a little bit before the merger. Amy was really the one that was the Executive Director that followed me, and she and Peter Booth were the ones that negotiated the merger.
And the two boards, and they worked so well. It took about 6 months, and we were able to put the whole thing together, which was perhaps a little fast, but no, it really worked. And that was in 2010 that we merged on January 1st and have been operating as the Willamette Heritage Center ever since.
Why did you do that?
You know, there were a lot of things that we were doing together, that we were doing in conjunction with each other, or that we were sort of stepping on people's bounds. And the other thing that this did was expand what our mission was. So Marion County Historical Society was just the county. Mission Mill was the mill and the historic houses from the Methodist mission. But this grew the whole thing. So we look at the history of the whole of the Mid-Willamette Valley, and that's where we want to go, how all of those combine together. It's been a good project.
So with that vision in mind, what excites you about what's going on there now? Where are you going?
Well, that's a great question, and we're figuring it out right now. So, you know, with the merger having taken place 5 years ago, there's been a lot of figuring out how to put these two pieces together. And we do have a very clear sense of what we want to do, connect generations by preserving and interpreting the Mid-Willamette Valley's history. Now, what that means in practice, I mean, we have lots of great programs right now, and I think over the next few months, I'm recently on board there, over the next few months we'll be going through a process of refreshing our strategic plan and identifying new programs that we want to add, ways that we want to change some of the things that we're doing, but really to try to encompass and embrace this broader idea, as Amy was saying, of preserving and interpreting the past of the Mid-Willamette Valley.
And all of this is around that wonderful mill. Would you give us a sense for viewers who aren't familiar with the history of the Mission Mill? It was a fully functioning mill.
The Thomas K. Woolen Mill was, and at one point it employed 20% of the population in Salem. And that's a major employer. And so we have the history of that, and also moved on to the property then are three of the most significant historic houses in our area. Jason Lee House, the Methodist Parsonage, and the John Boone House, and he had been the treasurer. And then we also have the First Presbyterian Church that's on the property. It is a really nice way of interpreting, bringing our history to life and to begin to understand it as you go through the mill. You can see how they made fabric. And then on the fourth floor, we have the Salem Fiber Arts Guild that shows you how we used to do fabric before we had all those machines. So
you have a wonderful segue there for me to be able to invite people to go to that actual fourth floor. Let's take a look at a little bit of a video of that and the fiber arts people, because this is all part of your heritage and it's all going on there.
This is the Textile Learning Center at the mill. It's a weaving studio, and the weavers here pay by the month for studio time. They weave what they want. It belongs to them. We're open 3 days a week from 10 to 3 on Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. And we also greet visitors that come for a tour. Weaving used to be the source of all their fabric, towels, linens, clothing. It was a long process, and actually I think it's kind of interesting that the weaving was done in the winter. And the prep for the weaving, the yarn and the spinning and the dyeing was done in the season when you could be outside. But when you had to go inside, then you set down your loom to weave.
The first thing we're going to do is we're going to card wool. It takes a long time to do.
Up until 1962, it was a working mill. After that, it changed focus entirely, but the mill building and all of its outbuildings are still here, not that much different than when they were built, and you can have tours through all of those buildings, seeing what's going on. Some of the machinery still works. You see all the processes.
Men love the machinery, and they are fascinated that this machinery was available before the 1900s, and you see how much they did. Often with the women, it's really an appreciation of the fabric and how much time and energy it takes really to get to the final process. People come from all over the United States, and in some cases the world. Certainly the people from England are very familiar with woolen mills, but you have to remember that this woolen mill is only one of 2 in the entire United States.
We have a wonderful program for kids. We have the Teen Interpreter Program, and in the summer we invite students to apply, and we ask them to choose a character from our history here, get in costume so that they learn all about the period of those people, what they wore, what they ate, what were the current events for the time. They can earn up to 1/2 elective credit for high school, and it's a great thing for us.
I really enjoy it. I love being somebody else and telling that person's story. There's a lot of very interesting people who lived in these houses. This is one of my favorite entries from Anna Maria Pittman, who was Jason Lee's first wife. It was recorded that she made 12 pounds of butter a week. 12 pounds. And that's a difficult job. It takes a long time to churn, at least an hour or so when I've done it. It was a hard life and they worked a lot. But they were tough women. They were very sturdy too.
As a woolen mill, we're very interested in textiles. So about 30 years ago, it started as a kind of a contest to see if you could get fiber from a sheep all the way to a finished garment, sheep to shawl, in one day. Well, we got so many people involved and so many things going on. In addition to just that, we broke it down into animals, the different textile processes, fun things for families and kids to do. So we're not competing to get to that shawl, but you do see and experience all the steps. And with that, we have a lot of fun stuff that goes on too.
Love that.
Wow, there is so much to see there.
Yeah.
So tell us about the volunteers and the docents that really are the life and blood of the organization.
They are. So when people come to visit and take a tour, when we have docents available, they can take a docent-led tour, just like you saw, and explain the equipment, run some, we have a loom that runs, and they are trained to be able to do that. So that's a really fun thing. I will say, we could always use more docents. If anybody is interested, they can certainly contact us if that's one of their passions.
And you have a teen program too, don't you?
We do. In the summer, we run what's called a teen interpretive program. I like to think of this as our sort of docents in training for the future, right? But these, it's a fascinating program. They're in costume. They learn how to really do the work of a docent and really, in some ways, to live the past. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to provide a living history experience for
Well,
people.
you have people from all over the world coming here because isn't this mill, it has a history of being one of the only ones west of the Mississippi? What is that?
Well, it's one of the ones, the few that were preserved, so, and we feel very fortunate that it was. When the Kay family decided to close the mill, it was 2 years. They negotiated, and in 1964, it became the association, the museum. And so we are fortunate to have the outbuildings, the whole thing is really
and the
there.
mill race,
And
that
the mill race.
beautiful, beautiful mill race there.
And the Metzger
Machine
shop is
right.
wonderful.
Right.
You were saying about refreshing the strategic plan, and that's one of the things about historic properties is while they're historic, they continue to change not so much physically, but the way people see them, what we know about them and stuff. And it really is wonderful that if people have been there haven't been there recently, there's a lot of new things to do.
Well, and the
and
stories
see.
that we tell about the past, that's what history is, right?
Yeah.
It's the stories that we tell about the past, and those stories are always changing to be more relevant to the present in light of new evidence. So while people may have been familiar with the Mission Mill 10 years ago, I would love to see them come down and be a part of the new stories that we're telling about the past.
And those stories include Native culture now.
That's
Tell
right.
us about that a little.
Well, you know, we had a very productive relationship with the Confederated Tribes of the Grand Ronde, who helped us put together an exhibit on the Kalapuya, the native inhabitants of the valley, and it's a fundamental part of our institution.
It's a fascinating exhibit too. It really brings alive that history. And of course, that's what people want. They want history brought alive. Speaking of that, what you got cooking this summer?
So our event that's going to happen on July 11th is History Was Here, World War II in the home front. It's the second year that we have put this one on. And really it focuses on what happens here in the valley during World War II. We don't realize how World War II, when we sent people over to serve in the armed forces, but everybody was focused on that war effort. So there are lots of things that people will be able to do. One of the things was a scrap collection of metal and all the rest of it. We are famous for Scrappo, and it was a construction of a character on the courthouse lawn out of scrap metal. Well, kids can come and create their own Scrappo that day, but we'll also have military uniforms and vehicles there. We'll have speakers. There will be someone talking about Camp Adair, which although it was over in Polk County, those guys came over to Salem for entertainment and for using our restaurants and all the other and dancing.
Yes, I have
dancing. Yes, great dancing. So that'll be all available for people. We're going to have some actual Rosie the Riveters.
I love that.
Oh, yeah,
that's great.
Wonderful.
So there are ways that we'll talk about not just those who served in uniform, but we will also be talking about those who served at home, helping all of that war effort. And so it'll be it's 10 to 4 on July 11th, and so people can certainly come find that information.
On a broader scale, because Mission Mill is really, that whole area is year-round. Tell us a little bit about what we can expect as we enter the winter months.
Well, the Heritage Center, the History Was Here, World War II on the home front, is a really good stepping stone to our fall gala, which will be a 1940s themed fundraiser. It's going to be a great opportunity for people to really experience some of the unique things about the Heritage Center. And then we've got some other great events too, including one of my favorites, and I won't preview too much of that. But.
So we have done for several years Oregon Trail Live. Remember the 1970s video game? Oh. Well, we have a live action where you form a team of 4 people and you go through 10 challenges and build your homestead at the end of it.
Oh, that's wonderful.
It's great fun. We partner with a lot of people. It is.
I will.
Ross was there.
Yes, I had the bull costume last year and handed out certificates.
The things we learned.
Right.
Yes, well, yes.
Michael Davis from the newspaper was the sheriff. I mean, I went around and it was
great.
Just great fun.
Cookie.
So things like you had to collect 400 pounds of meat to take this trip, and we have a gentleman who dresses up in a cow costume, and you pull him in a little red wagon, and the whole time you take him up and down the hill, he recites meat facts to you.
But this is a wonderful way of getting the community involved in things that actually they can have fun with their kids doing.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
But we need to let people know how they can get in touch with you so that you can get those volunteers you need, get more docents in training and actual docents. How do we get in touch with you?
Well, you can go to our website, willametteheritage.org, but I would also welcome and encourage people to contact me directly with their questions about the mill, their favorite memories of the Heritage Center, their vision for the place as we're going through this process of refreshing our strategic plan. And then just come on down to the Heritage Center. We'll have note cards out at the front desk where people can sort of leave some of their ideas about where the place has been and where they hope to see it going.
Well, that information is on the screen for people, and I'm sure that they'll want to get in touch with you, and your email is there as well.
Great.
Well, this has been fun.
Yeah.
For sure.
I even had a ring in my nose.
What costume am I going to have to wear?
There's a great picture of Kylie and me. Kylie's dressed up as
The judge.
Judge somebody, and she's got these big sideburns and this hair.
we're gonna
and-
have to be part of that fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
You'll have to go on a road trip over.
Yeah, come on down. And thank you for having us.
Well, I'm very grateful that you were able to take some time out of your day to come on over and visit with us, and thank you, Ross, for being
Yes.
co-host.
Oh, you're
Thanks, Ross.
welcome, and look
Well
forward
done.
to
Well done.
thank you.
All right.
Look forward to Mary Louise returning.
That's right, and she picked you. We picked you, so that's great. Mary Louise, good job. Anyway, well, thank you very much for joining us today on InSight, and we'll see you again.